I was really angry at God for a long time. Like, why? Why all of these challenges? Why can't I have one thing that's easy? Why? It's the wrong question. It's the wrong question. I asked myself, I seem to be the common denominator here. So, what's the world asking of me? Part of the reasons why we say we don't have the time is because we are subconsciously sabotaging ourselves from creating the change that we want to create.
You're listening to the What the Gut podcast, where busy moms can come for a holistic approach to health and vitality. I'm Allison, your host, a holistic health and wellness coach. In this space, we'll dive into the intricacies of achieving holistic wellness while balancing the demands of daily life as a busy mom. What the Gut is your haven for navigating the challenges that come with juggling numerous tasks while aiming for a healthier, more balanced life. Join me as we uncover practical solutions to common health hurdles, from managing fatigue to understanding all things gut health. Through insightful discussions, actionable insights, and tailored lifestyle strategies, my goal here is to empower you to embrace a vibrant, nourishing life while saying goodbye to being overwhelmed and exhausted. So if you're ready to embark on this transformative journey towards holistic well-being, hit that subscribe button. Get ready to discover the secrets to thriving in motherhood while nurturing your overall wellness. A quick reminder, everything discussed here is for educational and empowering purposes only and is not intended for personalized medical advice. Consult your personal healthcare provider for personalized medical advice. Welcome to What the Gut, where we create our own path to holistic health, one episode at a time. Today on the podcast, I have got a special guest, Lainne Love. She is an award-winning spiritual psychology coach, a best-selling author, and leading-edge healer. She helps visionary leaders, impact-driven entrepreneurs, and conscious parents transcend their limits, master their minds, and birth their legacy. After growing up in a toxic environment and reclaiming her power by walking away from her family to stop the cycle after she became a mom, Lainne knew that she needed to overcome her lineage in order to create a new legacy. Trying all the usual remedies from self-help books to journaling to meditation to therapy, without any profound results, Lainne utilized her science roots, background in alternative health, and spiritual practice to do a deep dive into healing and uncover how to restore her innate brilliance that was lost in the chaos of her trauma. Now she inspires others to break free and restore their own mind, body, and spirit so that they also can rediscover their power and impact the world in a big way. She is an award-winning author of the upcoming book, There is Magic, but There is No Magic Pill, and also has the best-selling books, How to Use Hypnosis to Master Your Brain, and A Bigger Mission. Lainey's goal is to inspire other parents, entrepreneurs, founders, and visionaries to invest in creating a better world by investing and working on themselves. Hey, Lainne, I'm so excited to have you today on the podcast. How are you?
I'm amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, this is so exciting. I know that you're up in Canada, and I wish I could go to Canada one day.
You can. One day you will. You
One
will.
day.
If it's in your heart, it will happen.
Yes, that's awesome. So I know that you do all kinds of awesome things. I know you've written 2 books and you're an award-winning spiritual psychology coach.
Yeah.
And you do a few other things as well. I have so many questions and can't wait to hear your story. I would just really love for you to start at the beginning and tell me, how did you get into what you do now? What led you on this path?
It's a long and windy road, like most people's journeys are. You think you're shooting for a straight line, and it never is that.
Never.
It never is that. And it took a while to see how all the pieces fit together. But I grew up, like many people, in chaos. Single mom, 4 kids. My mom was a teenage mom. And there was a lot of, unhealthy things that I experienced, just to wrap it up in a tidy little bow there. And that's definitely colored the rest of my life and how I developed and the skills and tools that I had or didn't have, and the trauma that I needed to overcome. And so, like many healers, my healing journey really began with the needs to heal myself. And it took me a long time to do that because I kept drawing into my life a lot of toxic situations and abuse and unhealthy relationships, whether it was romantic or otherwise. And I always found myself feeling disempowered and like the victim of a situation. And it took a long time to like really look at that and get to the heart of why, like the common denominator was always me. And the year that I got mugged, which is actually a story in my latest book that I just released this year, A Bigger Mission, is a snapshot of that incident of when I got mugged. And that year I had experienced all kinds of strange things. The most interesting was getting bit in the neck in my sleep by a bat and having to undergo rabies treatment.
But what?
I know, it was just like the things that can happen to us as humans, right? We all have these really interesting stories, but after, getting mugged, my grandfather passed away, the person I was seeing cheated, I got bit in the neck, by a
One
bat.
thing after another.
One thing
Yeah.
after another, and, like, really hurtful, strange things, like, I asked myself, "Huh, like, I seem to be the common denominator here. So what's the world asking of me?" And that really started the deep dive. That was about 15 years ago. I was already on that journey. I'd studied science in university and the healing arts because I was just always naturally curious about that. So that was, my career and my interest. And there's so many ways that we can trick ourselves. I know I did. I tricked myself because I had all this education and I had all this experience of trauma and I logically knew things. I was tricking myself into thinking that I was better or healed because I logically knew I had read the books or had studied with the teachers. But what I didn't know was that I wasn't doing the work.
I have to say, I love that you pointed that out. I think that we get in these situations where our life circumstances, no matter what it is, are handed to us. And we're intrigued by something about that. So we study something about that, right? Like you studied just the healing nature. I can really relate to that. I grew up with terrible gut issues, terrible stomach issues. And then I ended up getting my bachelor's and master's in science and nursing. And so I studied all of this stuff, but I was still having the issues. And it's like you have to hit that rock bottom and do the actual work. It's not just knowing the information, but doing the work is is just whenever that changes. And our stories are so similar, but they are so different too. But that's just interesting.
Well, that's the beauty of like having podcasts and sharing stories is that there's something there for us in it and that we can all have, we can resonate with somebody in their story and we can see aspects of ourselves there so that we can know that it's possible for us too. Oh, you went through something similar. That's great. And now you're on the other side of it. Then maybe I can too.
Yeah.
So that's why I love podcasts and story sharing or storytelling. But yeah, what I didn't realize that I wasn't doing the work and I didn't know I wasn't doing the work. I thought I
Right.
was because that's really what our culture supports is that if you have the knowledge or you learn about a subject, then you know it. But you
Exactly.
don't. You really have to dig deep and actually do the work, and that means facing the things that feel uncomfortable and looking honestly at yourself and taking responsibility.
I love the quote you have on your website that says, have fun and be uncomfortable. Do the things that feel uncomfortable because that's how you grow. And I say that all the time too, that like you've got to get out of that comfort zone because you're not going to grow unless you do. So,
Exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
and that becomes the fun thing is that anything that we're doing when it feels uncomfortable, whether it's learning how to type or cook, any skill, or we're talking about healing. So when it comes to healing, yeah, if you don't find yourself uncomfortable, then you're not actually doing the work.
Mhm.
And so it wasn't until I started doing really like subconscious reprogramming, doing that kind of deep work and feeling the feelings and facing myself. As soon as I got uncomfortable, then that became like the new cue to me to be like, oh, yeah, I'm doing the work now because
Yeah.
I'm feeling uncomfortable. So that means I'm actually creating some change. And I just learned to celebrate that feeling like, this is a good thing. Being uncomfortable is a good thing, and once it really shifted that inner dialogue or a connection, it created, like, a kind of excitement, actually, as to now when I'm feeling uncomfortable, I'm feeling scared, I'm feeling panic, like, any of these previously really debilitating and paralyzing feelings, now I have a different relationship with them and a sense of excitement in that I'm uncovering something new. The thing that's in my way that's stopping me from getting to where I want to go, or the thing that's asking to be healed, whether it's from my personal past or my ancestral lineage that's asking me to come up and heal it because I'm recognizes that I'm showing up and I'm doing the work, or past parallel lives, depending on
Yeah.
where you sit and all of that. But yeah, and in speaking of that, it was also bringing in the aspect of spirituality and the knowingness that I'm more than just me and I'm a part of this collective, and that I can reach out and integrate prayer and asking for help beyond myself. When I started to do that, as well as the other things that I just mentioned, things began to change, and I didn't realize that I was missing that element either, bringing spirituality into my practice and having that be a regular part of how I navigate the world and certainly how I face challenges.
So I was going to ask you, how do you differentiate this new, exciting, changing type of uncomfortable versus the previous uncomfortable that you had? However, I think that you answered it in just saying that you worked on the spiritual side of it as well. And in incorporating other things and focusing not just on one part of your life contributed to that.
Yeah, and it's just understanding, it's being open to developing a new relationship with our feelings, like, and what are they actually? Again, our culture doesn't really support the feeling of feelings. And then we talk about like good feelings and bad feelings, but there really aren't any bad feelings. It's just a
Right.
feeling is just it's feedback.
Yes.
This thing, because I could have one feeling about something and you can have another feeling about it. That's just all based on your life, your personal experiences, your personal preferences, potentially your traumas. So it's just feedback.
Yeah.
When we can look at our emotions as actually what they are, feedback, not good or bad, and allow ourselves to just process the feeling, because feelings are just meant to be feedback for a second. Like, this is hot. That's the feedback I'm getting, that physical sensation. It's the same with emotional. I'm not going to keep my hand on the hot stove. I've been given the signal it's hot. Now I'm going to do what's appropriate, which is remove my hand from the hot stove. The same thing with feelings is we are required to feel the feeling, but what we do is we repress it. We suppress us. We block it out. We dissociate. And that keeps the feeling stuck within us instead of doing what it's meant to do, which is just come in, give us the feedback, and then we release it and let it go, and then take the next steps with what the feedback was telling us. And so when we end up trapping all of those emotions, or I like to say we hold them prisoner, we hold them hostage.
Yeah.
We think they're holding us hostage, but we're holding them hostage because we're refusing to let them go. So
Yeah.
once we actually do that, then the healing that we have been searching for can take place because we have freed ourselves and we've created the space because it takes up a lot of space within us when we
Yeah.
when we store and trap all of these emotions. And so as we begin to practice feeling them and letting them go, then we actually experience feeling them and then we can relate to them in a new way, which is, oh, actually, feeling fear isn't that bad, or feeling panic isn't that bad. It actually just lasted for like 30 seconds and then it's come and gone. And now I can look at why I'm giving myself that feedback and then look to what the solution could be rather than getting stuck or trapped by that feeling.
Yeah. So let me ask you, I know there are so many people out there that do have, most likely all of us have some kind of unresolved trauma, right? That we do need
Yeah.
to work through. For those of us who just know we have something that we need to work through, don't really know how, or maybe we know how, but we feel like we don't have time. What do you recommend? There's so many of us that we're just struggling to survive. What does it take to heal?
Well, first of all, you have to decide to create the time. So, part of the reasons why we say we don't have the time is because we are subconsciously sabotaging ourselves from creating the change that we want to create because we're creatures of habit and we don't like change. And we all know that. Oh, consciously, we don't like change. Subconsciously, we don't like change. So, it takes effort. It takes effort to create that change and it takes effort to create the space and time in your schedule. And I'm a single parent of a neurodivergent child. I worked full time. I built my business. I went to school. I parented and went to all those doctor's appointments and exercised and meditated and went to therapy and did the work. And I don't say that to be like, wow, I'm so amazing, even though I am. And celebrate that and celebrate
You
yourself.
should. You
Yeah,
should.
right. I don't say that for that reason. I say that because you can. If I can, then you can. I had all of the reasons to have excuses as to why I don't have the time. A real thing. I'm working full time. I have a neurodivergent child that requires a lot of my attention and a lot of extra appointments that other people don't have to do. And if I want my life to change, I can't stay stuck in that dialogue. I
That's
have to say,
uncomfortable.
yeah, well, yep, it's true. My circumstances or my reality could be more supportive, could be better. I wish it was in lots of different ways. Wishing it was doesn't make it so. Like, if I want to actually create the change that I really desire and I want to feel more of a sense of peace, I want to build my dream, I want to write books, I want to do all these things, then I can't be focused on the reasons why I can't do it. I have to figure out how can I do it. And that's what I did. And it just started off like one thing at a time, like, okay, how do I fit exercise into my schedule? Like, I don't have an hour to go to the gym. Well, you don't need an hour to go to the gym. You can wake up 15 minutes earlier. That's what I did. I just started off with, you know what? I have 10 minutes. I can't say I don't have 10 minutes. So I just started off with like 10 minutes of movement. And as I started to integrate that into my schedule and it became a part of who I am, then I was able to create even more time for it. And same with education and same with therapy and same with practices. I didn't start off with like these large blocks of time because I couldn't see how I could do that. But I could see how I could do 5 minutes of meditation,
Yeah.
of 10 minutes of writing, 10 minutes of posting. Like, you can do all of these different things if you just starts to do it. You have to take the steps and you just have to do it. And then you become proud of yourself. And then you begin to see, oh, I can do more than I think that I can. I've been
Yeah.
selling myself short. I have been making up excuses And that too, really like look at what your inner dialogue is. How often are you telling yourself all the things that you can't do or all the reasons why you can't do something? How often do you tell yourself that you can do something or all the reasons why you can or you could or you want to do something? Probably not at all. That's that was my experience anyway. I was more focused on all of the hardships and all of the challenges and all of the difficulties and all of the why me's, poor me's. I was really angry at God for a long time. Like, why? Why all of these challenges? Why can't I have one thing that's easy? Why? It's the wrong question. It's the wrong question. This is what I've been dealt. This is what I've created. And what do I want then becomes the next question. And then how do I begin to get there?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of personal responsibility. It's all personal responsibility. Your healing journey, that's where you start with personal responsibility.
Yeah. I love that. Whenever you mentioned your son, and I
Yeah.
know he's neurodivergent, and you've told me that you've healed your son with love. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, talk about personal responsibility. That was a really humbling experience. So, like the pattern of my life, as I had mentioned, I had created a lot of chaos and called in a lot of unhealthy, abusive scenarios and situations based on my patterns and my subconscious beliefs and my energetic signature and all of these wonderful things, my ancestry, just like probably, the listeners have. I was so stressed out. I was suicidal, actually. Like, not just things could be. I wonder what if I did, or maybe it would be easier if I think that we all, like, at one point in our life or another, kind of have those thoughts. But no, I was like making plan. I had spent a year and a half in court with my son's father, and that was a horrific experience. And I just felt like, wow, if this was what it means to be a parent, I don't know if it was worth it. Like, if this is going to be the rest of my life in parenting, I don't know if I really, yeah, if it was worth becoming a parent because this is horrible. And that was a really sobering thought. And with the aftermath of all of that, and many other many other chaotic scenarios that were also involved with that period of my life, I was broken. Or I felt broken. I I was super depressed. As I said, it moved into like being suicidal. My system was shot. I was angry, and I was short, and I wasn't protecting my child, and I was in a state of, I probably had post traumatic stress disorder. I was not in a good way. And even though I was smiling on the outside, my internal energetic resonance was pure chaos. And that affected how I showed up with my son. And I'm a good parent, I was doing all of the things. I was kind and loving, but I wasn't, because I wasn't protecting my child. I wasn't standing up for him. I was judging him. So he was lashing out, acting out because of how I was, but I didn't know that. I thought it was him, and I was judging him, and I was angry at him, and I was frustrated with him, and I was judgmental of him because I termed it as he was creating all of this chaos, all of this trouble at school, all of this trouble in his programs, a lot of violence, which then resulted in doctors and diagnosis. Yeah, took a couple of years of like moving in and out of all of those doctor's appointments and specialty programs and, the long list of things until I really started to look at myself and examine my energy towards him and how I was behaving and noticing, wait a minute, I just feel annoyed and judgmental all the time towards my son. Like when he comes back and I've gotten a call from the school about an outburst of behavior and how he was interacting with the kids or the teachers. And he'd come home, I'd be angry. I'd be like, how could you do that? You're not making good choices. What's wrong with you? I never actually said those words, but that was the underlying thing that I was directing towards him. And it wasn't until I really noticed and took responsibility for that and started meeting my son differently and meeting him with, I love you. So we have an outburst and he would start hitting me and punching me and swearing as he normally would. And I would just hold him and say, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Makes me a little bit teary.
Yeah.
And it was when I started to do that that he changed and I changed. And that his behavior at school started to change. And after about a year of that, I I don't get the phone calls anymore. I have more trust in him and he has trust in me because I he didn't trust me either because
Right.
I wasn't unconditionally loving him and I was judging him. And I've just seen a significant change in how he is able to relate to the world now that he feels safe and loved. And I have a new respect for myself as a human and as a parent, and certainly as a professional, in that I was able to navigate personal responsibility and in a new way.
Yeah. That's amazing. It's so simple, but not easy to do. I mean,
Wasn't
yeah, because I mean, you were fighting against everything that you knew and how you were raised and everything as well. Just that wasn't your norm. And so you really had to work hard to break that cycle.
I
So,
did. It took a lot. It took a lot from me, and there was things I didn't even know, like probably as many listeners here. I would be the person that if anybody asked you about me, they would only say how kind and patient and light and positive I was. When I became a parent, these different aspects of my personality that I had zero relationship or awareness to came up. I'm not I never acted that way or had those feelings even internally because a lot of them were just internal feelings. Some of them certainly were external in the way that I was, like, being very hard on my son and judgmental, like, "Why are you doing that?" Instead of just loving him. But yes, those are you're not gonna know necessarily what your triggers are or how it is that you're gonna show up in certain scenarios until you have the opportunity to be in that scenario.
Sure.
And I was, surprised by myself, but it was an opportunity exactly to look at the different patterns and cycles within my family history and be somebody that gets to break that cycle. And
Yeah.
that took a lot of work. I did a lot of work on myself. For me to be able to get to that point and just meet my son with love and know that that was what I needed to do rather than all of these appointments and all these doctor's appointments and all these drugs that they wanted to put him on. I knew that that wasn't the answer. I knew I knew the answer was love and it didn't feel weird. It felt right. And so I did a lot of therapy. And when I say therapy, I mean alternative forms of therapy like Psych K, hypnotherapy, energetic reprogramming, acupuncture, a long, long list, and prayer. And really like deep dive into my relationship with God and opening my heart and healing my heart and being able to love myself, being able to trust that there's more than just me, and then being able to love my son and really witnessing that power, the power of healing your heart and the power of love was is profound and certainly has changed my life and changed how I work with people and what I know is possible.
Yeah. Wow. That's just all so powerful. I just feel like I need to soak that all in. Whenever you work with people, what does that look like exactly?
Well, the people that tend to be drawn to work with me are typically like entrepreneurs, parents that are already doing the work. They've already been engaged in some kind of like self growth and they have an awareness that they're ready for whatever that next step is. So those are typically my clients. But how do we know? I mean, that's why we work with somebody. Like even I'm always working with somebody. I have a coach. I have two different coaches and a couple of different therapists that I use for different things. Because the great news is there's so many wonderful tools and modalities out there, and they all work together. And they all work, and we use them at different times. And often we need to be using like probably 8 different tools at once, leaning into what it is that your focus is, gut health. I mean, that's so important. That's a standard. You need to have a healthy body. You need to be working on your body. You need to be working in your spirit. You need to be working on your mind. You need to be working on your heart and your emotions. You need to work on all of the aspects of yourself. So knowing that is a great first step. It's like, if we want to lose weight, I love using physical examples or weight loss examples. We know that, sleep is a part of that, that diet is a part of that, that movement is a part of that, that water is a part of that. There are so many variables and different activities that contribute to the level of success that we have towards that goal. And the same with emotional, mental, spiritual well being. There are all of those different aspects, and it's really important to work on all of them. So that's another place to start is looking like how can I start integrating all of these things and not getting overwhelmed like, oh no, there are so many things. Yes, there are. There are so many things, and that's the truth. And I think that that's really important is to know what the truth is. And it's not just enough to do this. It's not just enough to do this. You do have to do all of the things, and you can do all of the things in 5 to 10 minutes each. You can even like a couple of seconds, you can do a 5-minute meditation and say a 30-second prayer. You can move your body for 10 minutes. You can get a water filter. You can make better choices for your food. Like it's all possible. It's all possible.
Yeah. I love that. You can do all the things. You don't have to go full force on all of them, but just starting to slowly, you know, get your feet wet in all these different areas, but not just doing one thing, like really just trying to do a lot of different things because they all work together. I think
Yes.
that's important. I don't know how well that concept is ever portrayed, right? Because it seems like if people are struggling these days, it's like, okay, well, just go talk to somebody. Like, that's just the thing that they jump to is just go talk to a counselor or something. But I mean, there are so many other things that you can do just by yourself or, like you mentioned, like acupuncture, all kinds of different types of therapies too. So I think being open to all of that is just very important as well.
Yeah. And recognizing all of those things is that you do, because again, we always sell ourselves short and we make excuses. Well, I'm doing this thing, so that should be enough. I know I did that. I totally thought, well, I'm doing this, like that should be enough, or I'm going to the therapy, so that should be enough. Like, no, it's a lot of work. It
Yeah.
is a lot of work, and the work is never ever done. So that's like the good news is that it's never done, meaning that we're all on that same journey together.
Yeah.
We all have that same experience and that same fate, and that's great because you always have the opportunity to be better and better and better and have a life that turns out even better than you imagined because you never gave up and you kept going, and that's really, really exciting.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I know that you do have 2 books, and your most recent one, it just came out last year, at the end of last year?
I yeah, very, very and, like, pretty much the last day, I think December the 30th or something, so pretty much the beginning of
Yeah.
2024, and it's an amazing book, A Bigger Mission. I have a copy right in front of me. I am so
Yeah.
proud of this book. It's co-created. There's 12 amazing authors altogether, and in the book, we all share a traumatic incident that we experienced and then overcame. They're really raw stories that can appeal. There's a story that can and will appeal to everyone and that everyone can relate to. And the point and purpose is that, we're not alone. We've all experienced some kind of challenging moment in our life or many moments, definitely in my case. Years and years of moments and probably in many of your cases. And that you can get to the other side. There are tools to help you to do that, and there is a way. And so that's what A Bigger Mission is about. And we also have a workbook coming out in a couple of months that is full of exercises that you can do at home that will help to give you the tools that you need to be able to overcome the challenges that you're facing in your life.
Yeah. Another treatment modality right there.
Yeah, another treatment modality. And that's so great. It's like, know that they all work. I have
Yeah.
not tried them all, but I have tried many, 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 many. One out of curiosity, two out of I just have that interest, and three, the need.
Yeah.
This wasn't working or this worked for this. It's all a toolbox. All of your tools in your toolbox work. Your hammer works, your screwdriver works, your pliers work, your measuring tape works. They all work, but they all work best for certain jobs. And that's the same thing with all of these different amazing modalities. But know that if you want to be creating change, the best place to start is subconscious reprogramming. Because regardless of all the other things that you're doing, if your programming is one thing and your conscious choice is another, and you continually find yourself having challenges, like if you decide, I want to work on my gut health, that's really, really important to me. I know I need to do it. But somehow, like every time you have an appointment, you're late, or maybe even get into a car accident on your way, or you get sick when you have your appointment. That's your subconscious programming keeping you in that programming because it's acknowledging that you're trying to make a choice outside of what that programming is. And so you need to change the programming to reflect the health that is now the most important thing to you and not sabotaging it. So change your subconscious programming first so that it makes it easier to commit to and make all of the other changes that you're wanting to make in your life.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I was going to ask if you have anything else you want to add, but honestly, I feel like that's a beautiful way to end the episode. Do you have anything else that you want to add, Lainey?
Just know that you are amazing and that you matter and that your story matters and that you can do it. And I know that it's hard. I know that it can be hard. And I acknowledge that. And still, you have what it takes within you to be able to meet yourself in that hard place and get to the other side.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Lainey, for sharing your story and just inspiring me and hopefully our listeners as well. I mean, this was powerful and it was a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being a part of my journey on What the Gut podcast. For a deeper dive into today's topics, head over to allisonandwellness.com/whatthegut or find the detailed show notes linked below. Hey, and don't miss out on future episodes. Hit that subscribe button, and if you love this one, please leave me a review. Let's keep the conversation going over on Instagram. Connect with me and stay updated and engaged with my awesome community. Plus, share these valuable insights with your tribe. They deserve to feel as amazing as you do. You can find me at Allison_and_wellness on Instagram. Your support means the world to me. I'm looking forward to our next awesome chat. But until then, stay curious, don't drink too much coffee, keep the vibrant energy flowing, and take care of your gut. Catch you real soon. Oh, and hey, if you're ready to dive deeper into personalized wellness, check out my one-on-one health coaching program at allisonandwellness.com. Let's make your journey to holistic health truly transformative.